Well, welcome to Fan for Racing Radio. I'm Fan for Racing Sharon, and joining me here today is Jay Hughesman. Welcome to the show, Jay.
Thank you, Sharon. I know that's only the second time, but that's kind of a catchy tune there to start the show. I like it, as you can tell by my head bobbing.
It is kind of a catchy tune. All right, we're going to be talking about the NASCAR Truck Series at St. Petersburg in this segment. And boy, this is a first for NASCAR to be racing at St. Petersburg. And I'm kind of envious of the Truck Series getting a chance to race there this weekend.
Yeah, this preview might be, as we were looking over that, just at a quick glance of the notes, we'll be like, well, this might be kind of a short one because we got nothing to give you as far as track history or anything. What we do have or know is from IndyCar. We're going to talk a lot about that, the crossover, because IndyCar is there, and some of the drivers that are in the Truck Series race this weekend. So we're still going to give you a good preview, but yeah, it is a first. So a lot of it is we got no stats to give you.
All new stuff. Okay, well, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series will be racing the OnlyBulls Green Flag 150 at St. Petersburg. It's the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, a 1.8-mile asphalt street course, and that will be Saturday, February the 28th at 12 noon Eastern Time. Television coverage will be on Fox, and then radio coverage on NRN, NASCAR's radio network, Sirius XM NASCAR Channel 90, and they will race a distance of 144 miles over 80 laps. Stage 1 ends on lap 20. Stage 2, also 20 laps, will end on lap 40. And then the final stage is 40 laps, ending on lap 80. Now, on Friday, February the 27th, they will have the Craftsman Truck Series Continental Pole qualifying on FS2 at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay. So we've got a lot to talk about here, Jay, with regard to St. Petersburg, because it's all new to us, for sure.
It is, and with that, it is an inaugural event. So we do have a full field, or will have a full field when it comes to the Truck Series. 36 drivers and teams for the 36 spots.
Okay.
Some notables, though. We got Dario Franchitti. We talked about that in the number 1. The number 2 is going to be Carter Farlook. Number 4 is Ben Mayer. We talked about Adam Andretti. He's in that number 5. The number 22 will be Jackson Lee. In the All-Star Ram truck is going to be Colin Brown. We mentioned that. This is one I hadn't heard. Landon Lewis in the number 45. That'll be for Nice Motorsports. The number 62 is Wesley Slimp, when we saw him in the Arkham Menard series. Derek White in the number 69. The number 76 will be Nathan Nicholson. And I feel bad we didn't catch this the other night, but James Hinchcliffe in the number 77. I mentioned a couple of these IndyCar crossovers, and I am really excited for that. Obviously, they're going to be the ones that have track experience when it comes to St. Petersburg, as they've run there with the IndyCar in this Grand Prix. So that'll be interesting, battling experience of the track, but not necessarily when it comes to Truck Series racing. So I think it's going to be interesting.
It is definitely going to be interesting. Remember Dale Earnhardt becoming a crew chief on top of the pit box last year? Well, this weekend, you're going to see Jimmy Johnson on top of the pit box as a crew chief, and I forget who the driver is now.
That was for Dario Franchitti.
Dario Franchitti, yes. So I think that's going to be fun and interesting to watch this weekend as well.
And just to make another connection there, that is obviously within the Toyota brand, but Tricon Garage, as we've seen, even through the Truck Series and then to the Cup Series or O'Reilly Auto Parts, these team alliances, there's Tricon Garage and working with Toyota and Legacy Motor Club now with Jimmy Johnson. Could see some things down the road there in the future of partnerships.
Yes, indeed. So we'll see how that plays out. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next topics here. It's a really historic first for the Truck Series. This is both the first race at St. Petersburg for the Truck Series and the first street course race in series history. They've never raced on the streets before. So St. Petersburg is the 11th different road course the Truck Series is raced on, and the first of 2 new road courses for this season. There are 4 road course races planned for 2026. That's the most ever in a single season for the Truck Series.
And this chart will break it down. I didn't realize that was the most with 4 now. From 2025 going back to, 1996, it was 3 races. I know on the Cup side, no O'Reilly Auto Parts, it's been a little bit more, but the trucks has stayed consistent at 3. Prior to that, 2023, there was only 2, 2000, and then 1995, only 2. And on the right side there, you look at the tracks that have held Truck Series road course races. Most Sport was a little before my time, but they had a total of 7, as does Watkins Glen, which is a staple throughout NASCAR. Topeka and Sonoma, 5. COTA has now already had 4. And then you get some of the ones we had one-offs or 2. Daytona Road Course had 2, as does Portland Road Course, and then Mid-Ohio, and then the Charlotte Roval had 1, as well as Lime Rock, which was new last year. And I'll let Sharon talk about the new ones for this year.
The new tracks for 2026, you've got on the left side of the chart here, St. Petersburg, which is happening this weekend, brand new. Dover is not new, but they'll be racing there on May 15th. And it was new, though, going back to August of 2020. And it's been 2,093 days since we raced there. But the other new race that everybody's looking forward to this year is in June 19th, the Naval Base at San Diego, celebrating the 250 years of the United States. And I think that's going to be an exciting race as well. What about recent winners on new tracks?
All right, you got the Daytona Road Course mentioned in 2020 with Sheldon Creed. Martin Truex Jr. picked up the Truck Series race that was on the Bristol Dirt in 21, and COTA was new in 21 as well, and there it was Todd Gilliland. I remember that. In 21, you also had Knoxville, which was picked up by Austin Hill, and then in 22, it was Mid-Ohio when they first came on. That was won by Parker Kligerman. I remember that one. And last year, obviously, we had the Roval and Lime Rock, both of which were dominated by the dominator of the season, Corey Heim. And the one thing I look at is the Naval Base, is that considered a street course or just a road course? Almost has to be considered a street course, which means they're never done it before and they're going to do it twice this year.
Let's look at some road course race trends. Ben Rhodes and Justin Haley are the only drivers entered with a truck road course win under their belt. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out this weekend. I think the street course is going to be a little bit different. The driver with the most laps led won 7 of the last 8 road course races in truck, and 6 of the last 7 truck road course races were run from the front row. That's pretty interesting because we don't usually hear that. And then the final pass for the lead occurred in the final 10 laps in each of the last 4 road course races, and 3 of the last 4 Truck Series road course races featured an overtime. So interesting stats there as far as trends in the Truck Series.
Well, and here too, the thing I look at when we talk about these stats, it kind of hit on it up above, not taking anything away from any of these other drivers, Justin Haley and Ben Rhodes, the 2 with the road course wins in the Truck Series, but Corey Heim is not in the field. So to me, that kind of opens the door, if you will.
It does. It lets us see who's going to be the drivers to kind of rise to the top here in the Truck Series this season.
And I'll show some stats here as we get this next chart up of why I say that. Recent road course winners in 2025, there was the Roval, Watkins Glen, and Lime Rock, all won by Corey Heim and Tricon Garage. So that's why I'm saying that this is opening that door. When you look at what else?
There's the pole sitter and the
race. I'm sorry. There you go. Well, you're right. I initially I was going to read off the poll, but the race winner was the same in this case. So that tells you how dominant he was, pole and race winner for those 3. But I'm glad you pointed that out because I was actually reading just the pole side. In 2024 at COTA, it was Connor Zilic with Spire Motorsports that took the pole, but Corey Heim got the victory.
And he was with Spire then too, which is kind of interesting.
It was, yes, for Connor Zilic. Now in 2023, that was where we had Mid-Ohio. It was Corey Heim on the pole and picking up the victory there with the Tricon. But COTA, when they came on, no, that wasn't their inaugural year. 22 was their inaugural. In 2023 at COTA, it was Ross Chastain with Nice Motorsports that took the pole, but Zane Smith with Front Row picking up the victory. We talked about Mid-Ohio, mentioned Kligerman getting the win, but it was Corey Heim, his name is up there again, who had the pole. Going back to Sonoma in 2022, you had Carson Hocevar picking up the pole at Nice Motorsports, and if I'm not mistaken, that was when he was on crutches and had to get help in and out of the vehicle. But it was Kyle Busch, which what then was KBM, picking up the victory. And then COTA's inaugural in 2022, there you had Sheldon Creed, who got the pole when he was with Young's Motorsports, but Zane Smith, who was a two-time winner there on this list, with Front Row Motorsports. So a little bit of a variety, but again, we don't see any of those names in this weekend's race. So I think it's a wide open case.
It's a wide open opportunity for the drivers. Where the driver leading the most laps on road courses actually finished more recently. This starts in 22. Kyle Busch in June at Sonoma led 45 laps and finished first. All of these drivers finished first or second. Parker Kligerman led 56 laps and finished first at Mid-Ohio, and that was in July of 22. Then moving into 23, the March race at COTA, it was Zane Smith leading the most laps at 16, or leading 16 laps and finishing first. In July at Mid-Ohio, we're going to talk Corey Heim quite a bit here, led 30 laps, finished first. And then moving to 24 in March, Corey Heim again led 30 at COTA, led 31 laps and finished first. At Lime Rock in June of last year, he led 99 laps before finishing first. At Watkins Glen in August, Corey Heim led 44 laps before finishing first. And this is kind of interesting because it was just announced that Brent Cruz is going to race full-time for Joe Gibbs Racing in the number 19 car in the O'Reilly Series. But in the Truck Series in October last year at the Charlotte Roval, he led 56 laps and finished second in that race. So some interesting stats there. None of those drivers are entered this week, right?
No, because like I said, it was Ben Rhodes and Justin Haley back in the Truck Series. It's been a gap, but he's back. So what we can look at, though, and this will kind of go into yours and Taz's preview of fantasy pick, the best average finish among active drivers. So these are the drivers you are going to see on the road course this weekend. Gio Ruggiero actually ranks first with a 3.0 average over 3 starts. Daniel Hemrick with 5 starts is at a 5.8. We talked about Corey Heim. 8 races had an average finish of 6.9, which actually ranks him third, but did have a few more starts. Then you get into some that have double digits. Tyler Ankrum with 14 starts has an average finish of 10.4. Ty Majeski at 10.7 over 10 starts. Mentioned Justin Haley coming back to the Truck Series, has 3 starts with 11.3 average, and then we're into the teens. Grant Enfinger, 13.4 with 15 starts. Ben Rhodes has the most starts at 17, 13.5 average finish, and Stuart Friesen at 13.6 over 13 starts. So we do have some road course experience going to be active this weekend. We'll see who prevails.
Who's going to prevail? That's the big question. And some of them have some momentum on the super speedway type tracks, but this is a whole different ball game. Okay, let's look at on the left side here. You've got the longest active streak of top 10 finishes on road courses. There's a tie between Ty Majeski and Corey Heim at 6, then Tyler Ankrum and Gio Ruggiero at 3, and Connor Zilic at 2. And then active drivers to finish runner-up on a road course without a win. Well, Daniel Hemrick and Ty Majeski both have one second place finish, but no win yet. So that might be clues to who to keep your eyes on this weekend.
And I talked about these at the beginning here, some notable faces at St. Petersburg. I'll cover first Dario Franchitti. He's 52 years old from Edinburgh, Scotland, a four-time IndyCar Series champion in 07, 9, 2010, and 11. The three-time Indianapolis 500 winner in a lot of parallel years there, 07 and 10, but then also in 2012. He's got a total of 31 IndyCar wins, 2008 Rolex 24 at Daytona overall winner. He's also the 2011 IndyCar Grand Prix at St. Petersburg winner. So again, he's won at that track. He's got 10 Cup Series starts. And that goes back to 2008. He had a best finish of 22nd at Martinsville in March of 08. And this is his first NASCAR Truck Series start since October of 2007, where he ran at Martinsville and finished 33rd.
All right. And Colin Braun is 37 years old from Ovalo, Texas. He raced IndyCar St. Pete in 2024, finishing 20th. He has 26 IMSA class wins, including 3 Rolex 24-hour and 3-time IMSA WeatherTech champion. He has 1 NASCAR Truck Series win, and that came in Michigan in 2009. So there's some experience there. He'll be in the number 25 truck this weekend, and that's for Ram. So Dario Franchitti is going to be racing in that number 1 machine.
And this is one I'm going to learn about as I'm reading because I didn't recognize the name. The number 76 of Nathan Nicholson. He's 19 years old from Bloomington, Indiana. So again, you would assume he's got some racing background. 25 starts in the Mazda MX-5 Cup from 2024 to 2025 with 5 podium finishes. He's the Mazda MX-5 Cup scholarship recipient. He's the 2022 NASA Spec Miata champion in 2023, the Spec MX-5 champion. And he's running the first of 3 road courses in 2026 in that number 76. So we'll get to know him.
Absolutely. Also, James Hinchcliffe in the number 77 truck this weekend. He's 39 years old from Toronto, Canada. 161 IndyCar starts over 11 seasons from 2011 to 2021. He has 6 career IndyCar wins. In 2013, he was an IndyCar Grand Prix of St. Petersburg winner. That was his first career win, and a current IndyCar on Fox analyst. I think it's going to be interesting to see these drivers behind the wheel, especially for the very first street course race that the Truck Series has. And it's going to be interesting. There's a huge difference between racing in IndyCar, an open wheel car, and racing in a NASCAR truck. So it's going to be interesting to see what these drivers accomplish this weekend.
It certainly will be, and I think it's going to bring a great mix. With that, I talked about some returning drivers. Most days between Truck Series starts, as you can see at the top of that list, is Tony Stewart, who ran at Daytona, had 7,559 days between his starts. Event number 1 there in June of 05, and then returned here in February of 26. Finished, unfortunately, 36. You got Bobby Gerhart, who had a big gap, but the other one that's active, Dario Franchitti, again, his is 6,706 days going back to October of 07 to now returning on the 28th of February here in 26. We don't know yet where he's going to finish. If you can fill in that blank, put some money down. Share that crystal ball with us. But then the other one, Colin Brown at the bottom, 5,293. And his is September of 2011 to now February 28th of 26. And again, unknown yet. I see him as solid top 10s, but it's a truck race. It's a street course. It's new. It's not a guarantee either. I hate to say it. But.
And 2 drivers who had more than 5,000 days between starts finished first, and that's Martin Truex Jr. and Greg Biffle. So that could be good news for Colin Braun.
No, there you go. That's true. Good observation.
Okay, the number 25 Ram All-Star truck driver finishes. And this is on the left side of the chart here. Tony Stewart, we talked about his 36th place finish. Ty Dillon was in that car at Echo Park. He finished 11th. And we have to wait to see where Colin Braun comes in. The number 25 All-Star drivers' days since their last Truck Series start is on the right side here. We talked about Tony Stewart at 7,559 days between starts. For Ty Dillon at Echo Park, it was only 520 days. But for Colin Braun, we just talked about the number of days between his starts, 5,293 days. So again, it's going to be fun to watch and see what these guys do.
And this is obviously for me as a Dodge fan of seeing how this plays out. Talking about how they're doing this Ram All-Star truck, bringing back drivers such as Tony Stewart and Colin Braun. We'll probably see more of that throughout the year, but also then just seeing the progress. And personally, again, I'm a Dodge fan, so we've already seen improvement from race 1 to race 2. The road course, again, as we said, is a complete different ball game. But that chart, as that grows throughout the year, I'm definitely going to be watching that closely.
So we have some drivers here that have some experience at St. Petersburg, Jay.
Yeah, we mentioned this. Obviously, Dario Franchitti with the IndyCar Series. Number 22, Jackson Lee, another one I didn't know a whole lot about, but he's part of the IMSA Pilot Challenge as well as the USF Pro at 2000. So he's been on the track. We talked about Colin Braun with the IndyCar Series. Nathan Nicholson, again, comes from the MX5 Cup. James Hinchcliffe, IndyCar Series as well as Indy NXT. And then Chris Wright also does in the USF 2000 as well as the Pro Mazda. So again, that's really interesting of how much track experience plays into new for Truck Series racing. But the talent of the driver is there. So again, we could see some of those good finishes even as well as first.
We'll have to wait and see. I think it's going to be worth tuning in to find out. Now, ThorSport Racing's pole position quest, they can become the 4th team in Truck Series history to win the pole in each of a season's first 3 races. And the first since Kyle Busch Motorsports did that back in 2018. So that's kind of a quest that you can keep your eye on this weekend. Can they make it the first 3 races of the season, getting that pole position?
And when we look at the organizations that have done it, you got Kyle Busch Motorsports as the most recent in 2018. You got to be a long-term Truck Series fan to go back to Ultra Motorsports in 2002. And then Bobby Hamilton Racing, if I'm not mistaken, was a Dodge team. Just add that in there. That was in 2000. And the right side, same thing. They were the teams that won 3 poles in the first 3 races of the season. But anytime you get on a list with Kyle Busch Motorsports or Kyle Busch as a driver, you're doing something above and beyond.
Something impressive. All right. Moving right along here. Toyota and Tricon Garage dominance. Toyota and Tricon Garage have won the last 5 road course races, each the longest streaks in series history. Tricon Garage is a Toyota organization, so that does kind of tie in together there.
And when we look at the most road course wins by a team all time, it is Roush Fenway Keselowski that has 6. Tricon Garage now right there with 5. Then you have a couple at 3, Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, Front Row Motorsports, and GMS Racing. Brad Keselowski Racing by itself had 2, as well as Kyle Busch Motorsports and Nimco Motorsports. And then there's 10 teams with 1. But when we look at the longest active top 10 streak on the road course by a team, ThorSport Racing has a streak of 20. Granted, they got, 4 or 5 vehicles that they've had throughout the years. Tricon Garage, though, already now up to 7. Want to point out, Corey Heim was their driver, so they do need to have other drivers step up, but they got some solid drivers in that camp. Then you got McAnally Hilgeman Racing at 5, Nice Motorsports at 4, and Spire Motorsports at 2.
And then the current points battle. Drivers that are off to a good start this season. Chandler Smith at the top of the list. He finished 6th at Atlanta and has, first at Daytona, 6th at Atlanta. He's in first place, plus 59 points above the 10th spot. And then Gio Ruggiero had a second at Daytona, a third at Atlanta, putting him second at 31 points above 10th. And Ben Rhodes, a 12th at Daytona, a fourth at Atlanta, is third in the points at plus 24. So Chandler Smith has a pretty commanding lead right now. But that's going to settle out as we get further into the season.
It will, but the one thing I look at there when we're talking about the change back to the chase format, Chandler Smith in first got a win and then a sixth place. I think Gio Ruggiero, the most consistent with a second and third, puts himself in second. But Ben Rhodes, 12th and 4th, but he ran good throughout the races, just maybe didn't have the same finish. And I think that's important because that's what part of what the chase was meant to bring back, that consistency, getting the stage points and wins. So yes. I think it's interesting that you see three different aspects to the top three in points there.
That's a good point because you're right. Ben Rhodes probably stacked up some stage wins there that really helped that third place position.
Well, he dominated at Atlanta. You know, we talked about him, a fuel problem, miscalculation, hurt him a little bit there. Now, we talked about the good. That means we also got to talk about the bad. Some rough starts to 2026 here. We'll look at four drivers. Tanner Gray, 23rd at Daytona, 30th at Atlanta. That puts him 19th in the points position. Fortunately, he's only 17 behind 10th place. And the reason that is, in the Truck Series, it's the top 10 that make it into the chase. That's a little bit different for each series. Here's one, a big one. Lane Riggs went toe-to-toe with Corey Heim last year as a championship contender. 31st at Daytona, 27th at Atlanta, puts him 23rd in points. Again, is only 21 points back. It's a hole, but not too deep. Grant Enfinger, 29th and 22nd, respectively, is 25th in points. He was another championship contender, is 23 back. Here's where you're already starting to get into a semi-deep hole, even after two races. You don't want to be this deep. Daniel Hemrick, 26th and 34th, is 29th in points and 30 back from that cut line. And I mentioned this when we're talking about the way the chase is now. Not only do you have to be consistent, but you got to be super consistent then to get out of a hole that these guys are in already.
Yeah, but I do think it's going to, as we get into the different types of tracks, Jay, I think this will change considerably.
Oh, most certainly. And especially if they do get the victories. Again, the victories give them a extra 15 points this year. You now get 55 for the win. So they can still make it up. And by no means is it a have to win. The win doesn't lock you in, but it does give you those extra points this year. So, and those are all proven winners.
All right, moving along here. Corey Heim's road course dominance. We've talked about it. Corey Heim's led 149 of 251 laps on road courses just last year, and he swept all three of those races last year. He also won the last 5 truck road course races. The last driver other than Heim to win on a road course was actually Zane Smith at Coda in March of 23. Of course, Heim and Zane Smith are not going to be in the race this weekend, so that opens the door for these other drivers. But there has been some dominance.
Most certainly, when you look at it, we're talking all-time road course wins. The first column on the left, Corey Heim at 5. That's above Ron Hornaday and Joe Ruttman with 3. Greg Biffle, Ron Fellows, and Zane Smith with 2. When you look at polls, Heim's at the top with 5. You got Ron Fellows, Ron Hornaday Jr., Boris Said with 3, and then Greg Biffle and Alex Tagliani at 2 apiece. And when you look at laps led, believe it or not, Corey Heim doesn't lead that category, but Ron Hornaday Jr. at 264, Corey Heim already up to 213, second. Again, you got Boris Said, a road racing ace there at 144. And then you got Mike Skinner at 105 and Kyle Busch 88. That's a little surprising to see Kyle Busch on 5th on a list, right?
Yeah, that is surprising. Okay, let's take the highest percentage of wins. And some of these drivers are obviously not going to be racing this weekend, but they are Cup Series drivers now. 1 win and 1 start at 100%. That's pretty impressive. Corey Heim, 5 wins and 8 starts, also extremely impressive at 62.5%. At the 50% mark, we've got 3 drivers, 1 win and 2 starts for all of them. Ryan Blaney, Austin Cindric, and Eric Jones. Then we go below the 50% mark with Justin Haley, 1 out of 3. Greg Biffle, 2 out of 8 at 25%, along with Kyle Busch, 1 out of 4. And then below that 25% mark, 2 out of 9 and 2 out of 9 for Ron Fellows and Zane Smith at 22%. That's on the right side. I'm sorry, on the left side. On the right side of the chart here, we've got the best average finish on road courses in 2025. Corey Heim, of course, at the top of the list there with an average finish of 1.0. Doesn't get any better than that in 3 starts. Gio Ruggiero has a 3.0 average finish in 3 starts, 5.67 for Ty Majeski. All of these drivers have 3 starts. For Daniel Hemrick, it's 7.3. Tyler Ankrum comes in at 8.0 with Brent Cruz at 9.0. Then we get into the double digits. Grant Enfinger and Connor Mozak at 14 and Lane Riggs at 14.67. So some interesting stats there, but these are some drivers you'll want to keep your eye on this weekend, because a lot of these drivers on the right side, with the exception of Corey Heim, are probably going to be in this race. Maybe Connor Mozak. I'm not sure if he's on the entry list or not, but most of those drivers are going to be in the race this weekend.
One thing, quick takeaway, not that I have to continue to point out Corey Heim's dominance, but on that left side, if you got 1 start, you win, you're at 100% as Chase Elliott is. To do it over multiple races, and anybody that was above 4 races, Corey Heim 62.5, the next best was 25. That's double the percentage, more than double. I mean, that is just absolutely impressive.
It really is.
Now, we talked about a star-studded race. Guess what? We also have a star-studded broadcast booth. On the left side, I'm going to talk about Townsend Bell as he joins the Fox booth. He is the 2015 IMSA GTD champion, 10 starts in the Indy 500, class wins in the 24 hours of Daytona as well as the 24 hours of Le Mans, 12 hours of Sebring. He's got 10 starts in the Indy 500 with a best finish of 4th in 2009 and finished 21st in the St. Petersburg in IndyCar back in 2008. I love that they're bringing in an analyst from the IndyCar side that has, again, the experience as far as St. Petersburg.
Okay, Michael Waltrip at 784 Cup starts, and he also has the 4 Cup Series wins. He's a 2-time Daytona 500 champion. Also, he won at Daytona in 2011 in the Truck Series. He's a 2-time Cup Series 4th place road course finisher as well. So there'll be some expertise in the broadcast booth this weekend.
Believe it or not, I just learned something about Michael Waltrip. Truck Series winner at Daytona in 2011 and his 4th place finish on road courses. He's not known as a road course racer, so that was kind of interesting.
It is indeed.
Now, when we talk about the Florida Truck Series history, again, the streets of St. Petersburg will be the 5th venue in the Truck Series that they've raced at in Florida. Look at Homestead, Miami, has 29 races. Daytona International Speedway right there with it at 27. Walt Disney World Speedway had 2. I remember those. And then the Daytona Road Course during the COVID year there had 2 as well. When we look at states to host the most truck races, I don't know that I'd have gotten any of these, but Virginia, 70 races over 3 locations. Tennessee, 68 races over 5 locations. Florida is actually 3rd with 60 races over 4 spots. Texas, 55 races, and they only have 2 locations as these others. Arizona, 38 races with their 2. Illinois with 37, they have 3. And then Kansas with 35 at 2. Yeah, Virginia makes sense.
All right, let's take a look at the background and track info, since this is the first time we're racing on the streets of St. Petersburg. Looking at the left side here, we've got the races, 80 laps, 144 miles. And we talked about the stage 1 at 20 laps, stage 2, 20 laps, and stage 3 is going to be 40 laps. There'll be 50 minutes of practice for all the trucks. Qualifying, there'll be 2 groups with 20 minutes each. On the street, it's a 1.8 mile, 14 turns, 5 lefts and 9 rights. They'll incorporate the streets of downtown St. Petersburg and a section of runway of Albert Whitted Airport. That's kind of interesting.
It is, and we know they're going to do that out in San Diego as well, so that's a different thing. So, yeah, that is interesting. Now, the other thing is the standalone event pit stop procedures for the truck series. When they have standalone events, the crews don't all travel because if they're paired with the O'Reilly Auto Parts or Cup Series, so they changed the standalone event pit procedures. Fuel and tires may be added or changed at any time. When making a pit stop under green or yellow, teams will be subject to a minimum time on pit road for 65 seconds. That gives teams approximately 35 seconds in the pit box itself, and then a 30-second approximate roll time. The stage breaks will consist of a 3-minute break for all teams. If you're not familiar with the truck series, again, a lot of the teams borrow crews from other organizations or in conjunction with teams they also have in the top other 2 series. So they know that and they try to adjust for that when they're in standalone events.
Yes, indeed. Now, there is a very storied history of St. Petersburg racing on the streets. Began as an SCC Trans Am Series event in 1985, utilizing a course located near the waterfront in the downtown portion of the city. The event was originally organized by William T. McVeigh. After several years, residents and businesses began complaining about the noise from the race, and the event was halted after 1990. After a brief revival, 96 to 97, at a new layout near Tropicana Field, approximately 1 mile from the old circuit for Trans Am, a revised 1.8 mile layout at the original waterfront location was established in 2003 for the kart series. Now, the event lasted 1 season before being canceled due to kart's bankruptcy and other disputes, but was revived as the first non-oval race in the history of the Indy Racing League back in March of 2005. And since 2005, St. Petersburg has hosted IndyCar every year and has been the traditional season opener for the series since 2011, except for 2020 and 21 due to COVID-19 related concerns. The current circuit also has hosted the American Le Mans Series from 2007 to 9 and the Stadium Super Trucks 2004 to 17, and again in 2021. So kind of an interesting history there at St. Petersburg. And I think that's it.
Yeah, and I think it's awesome that NASCAR is now becoming a part of this. We talk about it with Fox, the partnership they have with IndyCar, but also then the NASCAR side coming together and the crossover we're seeing with the drivers. These are all really great things for the sport of racing. This isn't just about NASCAR. This is going to be carryover for the sport of racing, and I love that.
And it brings a lot of attention to the truck series as well, which I think is really cool. Anytime you can do something that brings more attention to that series, I think it's a good thing. All right. So I think that's it then for the truck series here, Jay, unless you have anything more that you want to kind of bring up.
All right, you're going to give me the opportunity. I will. Who's going to be your pick?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Let's see. Do I go with Gio Rogero's? I don't know how he is on the road courses, but he's one to definitely think about. And when I looked at some of the finishes for some of these guys that are coming in from IndyCar, their finishes haven't been that great at St. Petersburg. So makes it hard to figure this out.
I was going to say, I actually blew it by giving you the opportunity of just looking of the regulars. I would have gone with Gio Ruggiero. Again, He does have that 3.0 average finish, but you got Daniel Hemrick and Ty Majeski. And I'll kind of, if you're going to go with Ruggiero, I'll go with Ty Majeski as, I guess, kind of now the veteran, especially leader of Thor Sport. But you can't count out drivers like Ben Rhodes, Stuart Friesen. So I think it's going to be a great race. This is one where, honestly, I would not want to put any kind of money on, even 50 cents, because I think it is absolutely wide open with the dominator, Corey Heim, being gone.
Yeah, you mentioned Ben Rhodes. I think he's one that definitely keep your eye on this weekend because he has that road course win that they talked about that none of the other drivers other than Justin Haley have. And so he had good runs, between Atlanta for sure. He had a really good run. So he might have some momentum on his side as well going into the road course this weekend.
Tell you what, I will give you my 100% guaranteed pick after this weekend. How about that? That's the only way you can be sure because, yeah, right. I'll put some money on it then. And aside from the notables, the rest of them were the usual well, they're not chartered teams in the Truck Series, but regular entries in the Truck Series. I don't know that anybody else stands out as far as picking for a winner, but again, it's the Truck Series. You never know what's going to happen. You got to tune in.
You got to tune in. Yep, that's the way it always works. Well, do watch for more coming soon. Jay and I are working on all of the previews for this weekend. We've got 4 series, but 3 different tracks that teams are going to be racing at this weekend between COTA, St. Petersburg, and Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway. The ARCA West Series is racing this weekend for their season opener, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see what happens there as well as COTA this weekend.
It most certainly is, and we get that first taste of the West Series for the ARCA Menard Series, so always excited about that when they get kicked off. I know Sal will probably be out there. I don't know for sure, but I think that's one he generally visits. So we'll get some good pictures as well as he's been doing those interviews this year. It's been great.
We might even get some interviews from the track. We're going to see if we can make that work this weekend. And if you haven't listened to it yet, you'll want to take a listen to the interview we had this week with Stephen Blakesley, Blakesley Sports Media. He talks about how he got into his career as being a racing announcer and gives some really good advice for anybody who wants to kind of break into the sport. From that perspective, Stephen Blakesley is a good guy to give some advice on that. You see him on Flow Racing at a lot of these tracks, and he gave Sal a really good interview this week. And then Live was on earlier tonight with all the guys.
Yeah, again, unfortunately, I can't get home in time to catch it. I'll have to watch it on replay, but I know those guys are very entertaining, share some very great perspectives and different thoughts. Chris and I, as we did last year, was on Hot Topics with us. We have some similar and some disagreement. And when you get 3 of them like that together, it's a good time.
It is indeed. Earlier this week, Jay and I had our Hot Topic Sound Off segment where we express some of our opinions of some of these things as well. And then coming up on Friday, Taz and I will be doing the fantasy report for your NASCAR Cup Series picks on your fantasy games this weekend. So you'll definitely want to tune in for that.
Yeah, most certainly. If you're putting any money down, you want to get some insight, tune in on Friday.
Tune in on Friday. Taz is pretty good at that. Also, thank you to everybody for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you, but also with regard to our live broadcast as well. Race Chat Live and NASCAR Hot Topics are live segments that we do.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And I know Sharon said we went up another subscriber or 2. So thank you and keep sharing.
Absolutely. So with that, we hope that you enjoy what we offer. And we'll look forward to seeing you in our next video.
Looking forward to it.